Hello, and welcome to Order 42. I'm Rob, and this video is going to be a bit different than what I've done before. This is me telling my story. So, in a lot of ways, Order 42 is really just about fun. You know, I do interviews. We do shows where it's really just friends hanging out, talking about movies and TV shows and games and whatever. On a recent show with GrindheadJim, he coaxed my story out. It's been something that I've been wanting to do, been wanting to tell the story, but it's difficult to get through. It's difficult to find that way in, you know? It really, the way that he kind of pulled the story out of me, it was very smart, and it gave it context and allowed me to just tell my story. So before we get into it, though, I do want to warn you that I do get fairly graphic with when it comes to surgeries and things like that, and mentally there's definitely some dark stuff in there. And if you choose not to watch it for that reason, I completely understand, and I appreciate the support. But if you are willing to watch this, it's a crazy story, and you're in for a ride. So, without further ado, let's just get into it.
You know, can you give me an example of a film, like a film that from start to finish, you loved it when you were younger, and now you totally love it just as much, but for completely different reasons?
Dark Knight Rises.
Something like that? Boom. Why?
It's simple. So in order to tell this, or to tell you about this, I kind of have to get into a little bit of my medical history. By the way, this was not planned, but here we go.
I know this was.
So, yeah, this is, in fact, you don't even know this whole story. I've told you bits and pieces, but so let's rewind the clock. So October 2013, I weigh 250 pounds, and I love mixed martial arts. And I think, you know what? I'm going to try this whole UFC fit thing and see what happens. I start doing it, and I push and push and push. I love it so much that I lose 65 pounds in 5 months. That's a lot of weight. That's 15 pounds, average of 15 pounds a month. Yeah, that is unhealthy. It's very unhealthy. That's why, you know, every time you see a commercial about a weight loss product, they say consult your doctor before, you know, undergoing any whatever. The problem was I wasn't eating enough. I was eating a lot of calories, but I was burning insane amount of calories because UFC Fit is like, it's all plyometrics. So, and it's tough. It is a tough workout. Basically,
you're altering your metabolism, you're altering your hormone levels at that point. There's a ton of stuff can go wrong chemically with you.
Yeah, and what was funny was, I mean, almost complete muscle failure every day. I was pushing myself very hard. I would finish my workout and I would go out on the back porch and smoke a cigarette. But anyway, so I go from 250 pounds, which is probably, for me, it was the worst worst shape I'd ever been in my life, to 185 pounds of a lot of muscle, and was like probably the best shape of my life. I mean, I still had a lot of things to work on, a lot of things to tone up and stuff, but my body was doing things I didn't even think were possible. Then apparently I have Crohn's disease, and I have diverticulitis. And what happens is, with diverticulitis, you eat anything with seeds, and it can get caught in places in your intestines. Well, think about what happens when you lose weight. The reason they say don't lose weight too much too fast is because your body cavity shrinks, but your intestines don't. Your intestines take a lot longer to fix themselves. So what happened was my intestines remained the same size, but my body cavity was shrinking. It basically formed a kink in my large intestine. That paired with diverticulitis, I got a blockage and it exploded. And I had 3 surgeries and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I almost died multiple times. Then, so let's see, that was March when that happened. The end of March, right before my birthday, is when all this went down. And I think I had surgery the day after my birthday, one of the surgeries. But I was seriously almost dead because I went septic, right? So my body's poisoning itself. It's all of that nastiness is just emptying into my body cavity. So it took me a long time to get over it. They were pumping me full of vitamins and I couldn't eat, of course. So they were pumping me full of nutrients and all that stuff. And I got really bloated. So I gained, I don't know how much weight I gained, but I was heavy. I was heavy again. And I looked almost like, I know this is going to sound weird, but it's almost like a rubber glove. And if you blow it up, and you know how puffy it looks?
I know exactly what you mean. Yep.
That's how my hands looked. That's how I just looked.
Because you had fluid in you all the time.
Right. It was insane.
All the time.
So then I somehow, which I think it has to do with a lot with how good a shape I was in, that I got myself in. My heart was strong. Everything was strong. I was able to pull out of it. I had to learn to walk again because my muscles atrophied so much. Because I literally could just mostly stay in bed. I finally got home. And in fact, my brother's here. If my brother's still here, he can attest to this. He saw me at the worst, down at the bottom. And what happened was I get home and I start going to the restroom, peeing all of it out. And by the end of April, so if you're keeping track, October, 250, end of March, when I go into the hospital, I weigh 185. By the end of April, I weighed 135.
Jeez.
So I was literally half the man I used to be. But yeah, I'm telling you, when I heard that song, it hit differently because it was like, and I kept saying, the joke that I always told was, I'm kind of a prick, right? So if I'm half the man I used to be, does that mean that I'm half as much of a prick, or am I more of a prick because now I'm condensed? So am I anyway,
I'm going to start calling you Minute Maid. Like now I think of the concentrate can.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Like just open. What the thing is with Rob, he's Minute Maid. He's concentrate. You break that seal, it's just gonna come.
Oh boy!
Out.
But
Anyway,
so
but you'll get lots of vitamin C.
Yes, but I will tell you, it was a long, difficult road back to where I am today. It took months of eating right and all that stuff. Then I won't go into all the details, but at the end of 2016, I had another rupture. I'm sorry, at the end of 2015, I had another rupture. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Beginning of 2016. Sorry. It all runs together for me. But
I understand.
Basically in 3 years, I had 7 surgeries, and I was really in the most danger at the beginning when it first happened. But when I had that rupture in 2016, they put me on TPN, which is the nutrition, and I didn't leave the house for 17 months. And the only time I left the house was to go to the doctor. And I had the nutrition. The only thing I could eat was about, 2 ounces, like a little bowl of mashed potatoes every day. And that was it. They removed my entire colon. And I still have a small leak that basically goes out the front of my body. I won't go into detail, but it's not fun to deal with. I'll just say that. But anyway, the worst part wasn't the physical. Now, I can tell you, it was extreme pain like I've never felt before. It was actual, they said what you felt was literally like being shot in the belly with a shotgun. And if you've seen any movies, when they talk about gut wounds, they say it's the most painful thing that a person can experience. I felt that, and it was absolutely insane. It was like I was on fire from the inside out. I hope I'm not losing viewers by telling the story, but the worst part was the mental. The mental side of it was absolutely awful, because you see what happens is when something like that happens, you're surrounded by support, family, friends. They come out of the woodwork, and you're like, you feel like this extreme amount of positivity and love. And you're just like, I'm going to make it through this. And I'm going to, because basically what I had decided, and this was in the hospital, because I'm hallucinating. My body is in overdrive trying to fight all the junk in my system. And I'm hallucinating like insane. Like, I'm literally seeing things like from Alien. It's like that, but more intense and scarier. Every time I close my eyes, it was like a movie waiting to start. It's crazy. But what got me through is I said, this is going to sound cheesy, but because of all the MMA stuff I'd been doing, I read a lot of Bruce Lee. And he, of course, he says when water is the most powerful substance on earth. When you pour it into a glass, it becomes the glass. When you pour it into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. When you pour it into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. So, and he said, be water, my friends. And that was what I said. And this is weird because Be Water just came out, the documentary on ESPN, which is amazing. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's insane.
I keep meaning to catch it.
But anyway, that's how I got through it. But then the family, the support, the friends, and all that stuff, they surround you. And you feel, I can do this. I can do this. But then, just like anything traumatic that happens in life, the grief takes over and everybody goes back to their normal life. And you're alone.
And you're left with it.
And you're left with the memory of who you used to be. And it's one of those things that when someone... the thing is I'm sitting there and it's called the home health nurse, comes out, checks my blood, does all the stuff. I mean, it's the reason that I have all these scars is because the Crohn's was attacking my system. So I would have incredible acne, which I still from time to time I deal with, but like that right there. And I thought, for a while there, I was really self-conscious about it, but now I'm like, no, these are war wounds. I battled death and won. I'm still here.
You don't have to show for it, these stupid pockmarks.
Right. But what's weird is I was having a really tough time. I mean, and I would have my days of pure unadulterated hatred for the human race. Because I'd watch movies and everybody's eating and they're having a good time. Everything's good. And I'm like, you people don't understand how good you have it, right? My home health nurse, very wise man, he tells me, he goes, what you're experiencing is grief. Because what died is your former self. You are grieving your former life. And you're grieving because you know it can't ever be that way again. And now it's the new normal. This is the new you. So now you have to decide. I mean, I almost sound like Gandalf there for a second. But I mean, it's you have to move forward with that new normal. In spite of everyone going back to their lives and everything's, and then they, hey, I'm going to this thing, Facebook. Right? Again, even to this day, I couldn't, man, it's difficult some days. And it's a hard thing to deal with. And I'm still dealing with the Crohn's. I'm taking the medication. Because of that, it bumps down my immune system. I can't go outside. I mean, I'm in danger when there's not a pandemic of getting sick and getting sicker than anyone else. The pandemic has made things really difficult. I haven't left the house for barely anything since mid-March. But then again, I played that game before. I was home for 17 months. I got this. It's no big deal. I'm fine.
I've got the t-shirt. Exactly.
Yeah, but what's weird is that was a really long way to get to this point, and that is The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Rises, when it came out, I was very irritated with that movie because it wasn't the Batman I grew up with. It was very, very different. It was very whatever. But I watched it because, you know, I think Bane's cool, right? Even if I wasn't a big, huge fan of the movie,
right.
I was a big fan of Bane. And I ended up liking the movie pretty well, whatever. But I'm watching the movie after all this has happened, and I see Bruce make his way out of the prison. And that music kicked in, and I am telling you, I'm almost tearing up right now just thinking about it. I lost my mind. Because it was insane. It was therapy. It was because, I mean, seriously, he's reborn when he gets out of that hole. And he's got a new focus and a new drive. And he rebuilt himself in that prison and came out of it. You know what I'm saying? All of the similarities between and I'm like, oh my God, this movie, holy crap. They didn't mean that. They didn't intend for that to be that kind of thing. But when that Batman theme kicks in, I seriously was like, I was overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. Okay? So I don't know when that was. I think that was probably late 2014 when I'm probably at the worst. And I've got at the time, I mean, I'm telling you, if you can just put yourself in that perspective for a minute, you're at home, you can't leave, you've got a colostomy bag, and you've also got you've got the IV that you have to deal with 12 hours a day, and if you need to get up and go to the restroom, you have to pick it up and carry this basically bag of liquid to the thing, and it's always pulling on things, and you've got to keep everything super, clean because it's direct, that IV goes directly into your heart. You've got to be careful, all of these things. It was an insane time. And the fact that I was able to get, in fact, yeah, you can see it. That's where it was for 17 months. Or actually longer, about 20 months. But and man, I'm telling you, I was awake for a lot of things. And they weren't all pleasant. I will say that. Got a catheter put in while I was awake. That was fun. They call it, it's called an NG tube. And what it is when you have stomach surgery, they basically put a tube through your nose, down your throat, into your stomach, so that it basically is filtering all that out, so there's nothing moving through the system. Makes sense, right? Like, if you're going to fix the pipes, you're not going to run water through it the whole time, right?
Right.
So the way that when it went in, so I wake up and it's in there, right? They take it out, and of course I'm awake for that. Oh, you could just imagine.
Yeah.
You can feel it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Then they go, you're not healed up in there yet. We've got to put it back in, and we can't put you under. So they got to put it in while I'm awake. Okay. Now, again, I was a very modest guy, for the, like I didn't like taking off my shirt, and being like very, showy or whatever. There have been I mean, so many people have seen me naked now. It's just insane. And seen parts of my body that I haven't even seen. So, yeah, I have no modesty anymore. They're like, hey, we need to check. Okay. And I'm, go. Do what you need to do. You know?
Get it done.
You name it. You name the... It's going to sound bad, but you name the hole, and it's... Somebody's been in there doing things, and it's not all fun, let me tell you. But I have to say, it's an insane... When you come out of something like that, and you look around, you see the world with new eyes, and with a new perspective, and a new appreciation for how bad things can really be. And you want to know, gosh, I'm telling this whole story. I apologize. I don't mean to make this all about this.
No, it's good.
But it's like once you get me talking about it, it's like, boom. But this is going to sound crazy. Okay. So I've got I really appreciate the love, guys. Thank you for being here and listening to me rattle on with this this crazy story, because it is crazy. But I'm sitting there and I've got a whole, basically, if you can imagine, probably this far above where your belly button is. Okay. There's a hole there that basically there's a line that's communicated to my intestines. And every now and then stuff just comes out of it. Okay. Then I've got a colostomy bag. I don't have this now, by the way. It's different now. But you've got the bag, got that. Then I'm hooked to an IV and I'm sitting there and I'm feeling sorry for myself. Woe is me. And then I see a commercial on TV. And it's a St. Jude's commercial. And it's a little girl that's never been out of the hospital. And she's sitting there and she's smiling and she's coloring and she's like, look at this picture I drew. And it's the guy that's there to draw her blood or to give her medication. And it's painful. And they sing the name game while they're doing it to try to get her. Oh my gosh, dude. I don't want to do this on stream. She's never been out of the hospital, dude. And I'm sitting here going, I'm looking down and I go, it's not that bad. Sorry. Wow. How the hell did I get into this today? Boy, this is going to be...
I asked you a smart question.
All you asked me was the name of a movie that's different now.
I already knew the answer. You told me about Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, but yeah, dude. It's one of those things that it just, like I said, it gives you perspective. And then, you know, while we're at it, I can just say my piece a little bit. God, sorry. It's all about perspective, right? And there's people in the world that go through things that you don't understand and that you don't have any way of knowing what it's like to be them. And if you can just take a moment and put yourself in their shoes, then maybe you look at your own life and you go, you know what? I could do more. And, yeah. So anyway, like I said, I don't want this to be, you know, a woe is me thing. Because trust me, there are people that are dealing with things that are, I mean, magnitudes worse than what I've had to deal with. But
it's not a woe is me tale. It's a tale of, I went into the hell and I came out. This is what I've learned.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. Gosh, what I've learned is that what I did, people said, because I've had many people tell me, and I'm not tooting a horn or anything, but I've had many people say that story is inspirational because you turned yourself around. You came out of, again, it was the deep, dark hole in the prison, and you came out of it with an attitude of positivity and love and understanding and perspective. I don't think I did anything special. I just didn't give up. So you can understand, Jim and the viewers, you can understand when you see this Game Chasers movie, why it meant so much to me. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention, stuff that I didn't cover. I thought I knew pain, and turns out I didn't. I mean, the physical pain was bad enough, but the mental side was very, very difficult. And one of the things that I failed to mention during the show was, I had 7 surgeries, right? I think pretty sure it was after the 6th, where they had told me that I would have to go on the nutrition via IV, the TPN is what they called it, and that I wouldn't be able to eat, and that I wouldn't be able to go to work, and could be months or longer. Turned out it was 17 months, and didn't leave the house for anything but to go to the doctor. And I remember sitting in the hospital and the nurses being a little, I wouldn't say upset, but a little urgent. They were urging me to get up and walk around, and I'd say, yeah, I'm just really tired or whatever. And I kept making excuses. And there was a part of some part of me that I just said, you know what? I'm done. I'm so done with this. I don't want to go through this. And I remember this feeling. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but it felt like I could feel my body drain. Just, I guess it was just like my body saying, okay, I guess we're gonna die then. And can't tell you what happened, but I got mad at myself. Very irritated, I remember. And at the time, they had to help me get out of bed. And maybe it was just, I don't know, just being stubborn. I got up and I said, no, not doing it. I got up myself. I got out of bed and I started walking around. And I remember my nurse being kind of surprised to see me. She was like, oh my gosh, you're out of bed. I'm like, yeah. That it's time to get better. But I remember she was surprised. What this did is it gave me perspective. And there are a lot of people that are in pain, and they're in situations so much worse than me. And I felt like when I tell this story to people, they're kind of like, oh my God, I mean, it's a weird thing because I can see the pity in their eyes, but I feel like I don't deserve it. I don't deserve that. I'm here and I'm okay. There are just a lot of people that are going through a lot worse time than I am, and they deserve your attention more than me. So I definitely didn't do this for any reason but just the hopes that somebody might run across it and they might get something out of it. They might learn something about themselves, or like me, seeing someone talk about it may give them context for their own issues. I don't know. I just hope it helps. And I gotta be honest, I recorded this. This is like try 3. Because the first couple of tries were a couple of days ago, and number 1, I cried through the whole thing. And number 2, I was thanking so many people that it sounded like, a popularity contest, or it sounded like I was winning an award or something. And that takes away from, I think, what the message of this video is. It's just, you're not alone. I just want to thank all the doctors, the nurses, surgeons that have helped me along the way. I mean, it is amazing. You know what you did. And I think about you often. And of course, my friends and my family that have supported me through this. There's so many people that have, I mean, you just don't understand what that means to me. But mostly, I mean, I do have to say thank you to my wife, April. She is everything to me. And I just hope that I can live up to what she deserves. She sacrificed a lot to be by my side. So, yeah, I guess that's it. And hopefully you got something out of it. Thank you for the support, and yeah, we'll see you next time.